All right. So finally, we could talk about balance. Because now balance has been explained through the perspective of the J world. Because we talked about balance early on in the J world, jelly juice, and that was left a little bit too open for interpretation. And you don't want to leave anything open to interpretation because then you lose all source of credibility. You got to be very specific, very on point, and understand the upsides and downsides. And so I think what the system is doing is extremely strategic, and they have to do what they're doing. That's why we're getting so much leeway on social media to say what we need to say without mischaracterizing anything. And even I get caught up in that because I get caught up in the emotions of the death and destruction and the suffering, that you want to stop the suffering, but you can't. But you can't blame anything either. And you can't force people to suffer or not suffer based upon whatever the situation is. And so you can only inform them, which is what I'm doing. I'm not imposing what I'm doing, somebody else can do. But you can only inform people, but you cannot allow them to mischaracterize you or any kind of product out there, because every product out there has been FDA approved. And even though people do make claims with their products that hasn't been through FDA process, the system can't police everybody. So unless you become extremely influential, they don't care what the fuck you do. But as soon as you become influential like I did, then they care what the hell you do. And then everybody gets called. Okay? And so why they came down on me is because the influence of waking up the demons in people's bodies that were not ready to be woken up, that definitely caused a stir, and I get it. Because I'll tell you, yesterday I I was able to handle being out there without my head filling up with mucus, without getting hives the next day or getting hives even when I came home. And that was a process. Do you realize what I went through the last 2 years, 3 years of trying to go out in public and then getting triggered by the environment, by either the food, the air, the water, the people? And I had so many hatchlings inside that I allowed to nest within because I was taking remedies and being around people, having sex with people, whatever. And so I let those life forms metastasize. And then they had to be woken up, and the immune system had to be activated, and it had to be released. And sometimes that release process is like having, I don't know if this is having like a little bit of a thing here, but this doesn't hurt on the back of my neck. I don't know if you can see anything, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel bad, but you'll have the arm pain and all that. So the immune system has to activate and find ways to release the demons. And everything is about balance, but what are you balancing? See, if you only know about, maybe 100 elements and 100 types of foods and everything, there's probably like thousands and thousands of things that you're not even aware of that are influencing your environment. And so your blind spots are what's going to catch you. And when you live in a very compartmentalized, homogenized world, you're not going to realize there's an whole bigger picture that's going on that's influencing everything that you're saying and doing. And so then you can't even claim that something is poison or not poison. You can't claim something is doing this or that because there's other factors that are in play that you're not taking into account. And so the system is giving us a systematic approach so we understand that you can't mischaracterize things, but you are the one ultimately is going to have to figure out how to change your lifestyle, your beliefs, and also everything else that you may or may not able to do. And so anyways, so I said, what could also give you life could also take away your life. So vaccines can give you your life, but if you don't manage life in your body, then too much life, regardless of where it comes from, can take away your life. All right? And so you can't even say the V's. I mean, even though it has the back of the bottle or the insert says one thing, there's so many other factors to take into account. But again, who's they? The system. the companies have to put the downsides to everything. But the doctor or the pharmacist who is ministering these types of things, they have to give you informed consent. If they don't do that, that's where someone can get them. And so if you've taken something that they didn't give you the downsides to it and the potentials, then maybe you have a case. And so what gives you life could also destroy you if you don't understand how to manage the resources and the life in your body, mind, and spirit and environment. Okay? And so, which is why, give me one second, which is why you see two sides of the argument given to you by the government and by the companies, because nobody can determine if what it is that you're expecting yourself, what it is you're exposing yourself to or eating or therapizing yourself with would be the last straw that breaks the camel's back, or give you the life that you needed or wanted and expected. So you can never assume that whatever it is that you're exposing yourself to will help you or hurt you. You just have to know what it is that you can handle and understand the science. And if you don't, then everything is a gamble. And again, if you don't educate yourself, then you'll gamble. See, that's the thing. When I realized that going out in public for however long I went out, and I would be out there and I'd come back home and I'd be all full of hives and everything else, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go out in public for a while. And so until I release more stuff. And so then yesterday, I went out with my husband. I'm like, I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna try to go to Walmart. I'm gonna try to go to this and that. And I go out, oh my gosh, so I keep testing my exposure, because I'm supposed to evolve and supposed to hang out with a bunch of people, but I don't, not hang out with a bunch of people, but hang out for a minute in public. But I don't want to be in large, diverse groups of people because of the environment is so aggressive, plus then breathing in all the microbes. And so going out there and letting the environment trigger my immune system and seeing what happens is what I was testing out. And so going to a Best Buy, going to an Aldi's or a Giant Eagle or a restaurant for like an hour in the heat. And it was hot in that restaurant. We were at Outback yesterday and it was hot in that restaurant. And so, but my head didn't fill up with mucus. I didn't feel like I was needing to cough and sneeze and blow my nose. I felt perfectly fine. It was so enjoyable. We went to go to what is it? Fin, feather, and fur, looking at, fishing baits. And it was just like nothing got triggered. I didn't feel any heart palpitations. So that's the thing. So the thing is eventually, once you get through waking up the demons within and releasing them and feeding them and resting and sleeping and doing everything you can to release the demons and feed your body and gene edit stuff or allow your genes to edit itself, then eventually you'll be able to go out there, at least superficially. I wouldn't say go sit in a party when everyone's smoking and drinking and doing whatever and you just sit there. And because what are you going to do at a party? If people don't understand where you're coming from and you're not a drinker or a smoker or anything else, and they don't know how to talk to you about stuff, then there's no point in going to parties. Okay? If people don't understand your information, understand where you're coming from, then what do you talk about? The weather? How long is that going to fucking go? So it's just, you might as well now change your life. You might as well just stay home and stay safe and cultivate your brain and strengthen your body, because look, my arm is like strong. Like, look at this. This is crazy. Okay? There's no cellulite. I have expansion and contraction. There is no too much resistance. I don't want to have big muscles. I need to have the fat. Okay? I need to have the strength to be able to deal with this climate change of going in and out of environments without succumbing to them. And that's why you can't be so skinny or too obese. Because when you're so skinny, then you don't have enough of what is it? I know I said something about that. I haven't everything memorized. That's okay. Okay, give me 1 second. Now I see why all food is important. Meat, milk, all meat, the milk and cheese, the eggs, the carbs, the gluten, the sugar, the salt, and the cabbage and the fruits, and even the processed foods are so important to rebuild and release the demons or disease and cancer. The skinnier you are, the chances are you are the demon of disease. Okay, so you have to have enough substance to you so the body can convert when it needs to. It can release demons, yes, that you might hold inside, but also when you're going into an environment with influential microbes, you can breathe them in, and then your body will be able to deal with them and release them. And you have to be able to understand expansion and contraction, and also the temperatures in your environment and the water, and even in your house and even outside. All that has to work together. And so when I realized that when my hands were sore and my arms were sore, and my body has opened up a demon or birthed a demon within that I have to deal with, that I feel my blood vessels constricting. Okay, because why are they constricting? Because there's so much growth going through that then I have to, because it's cool in the house, right? So then if I have so much more growth going through my blood vessels, then I have to then get the water temperature to be warm to help expand the blood vessels. And you have to have enough substance to expand your blood vessels. And which also includes that when you're trying to release demons down there, you need warm water. You need water coming over you. You need water somewhere, warm water, helping you release the demons down there. And that's what I'm saying. The colder the water, the more your blood vessels constrict. That's why in cold climates, people who have circulatory issues and who are really skinny, they can't handle cold climates because the too much constriction will stop the blood flow. They don't have anything to them. So they got to be in warmer climates and eating some food, and it's temperate. So that way the blood vessels don't constrict so much, cutting off the blood circulation. And so that's the thing, is that you can't be too skinny, because if it gets cold, just like that, then your blood vessels constrict, and those who, again, have issues with circulatory issues won't be able to survive their environment. And then, of course, if you have too hot and you're skinny, then the body will cannibalize itself. The energy will, the thermodynamics, the heat will be like oncology. Too much heat will destroy a person as well. It breaks them down. And then when you're so big, okay, what did I say? When you're so big, the skinnier you are, and the larger you are, the more diverse demons you are incubating, fighting wars within your body. The more aged you are, the demons who won are eating you out from the inside, causing infrastructure breakdown and intolerance. And that's why I also said that idiopathic fornication or idiofornication, when you screw yourself, what do you mean? By trapping the incubus and the succubus within. What do you mean incubus? Incubus and succubus are these little microbes that develop your reproductive system. Okay, and they are the ones that help you drop the eggs, and they are also the ones that help you develop the semen, and then cause you to act upon those desires, those hormones. And so then you have, and then if you don't release those demons, then you screw yourself. And so then also with your poop, if you don't release the demons by pooping effectively, and by understanding how to keep changing out the program daily, and it's a daily thing, especially in this environment, then you screw yourself, because you're developing offspring that will work against you, because you're dealing with programming in your body. Your poop is the programming in your body, the software that will then metastasize the old world, which will destroy you, or the new world, and you'll have to figure out how to deal with that energy conversion and so it's such a trip trying to explain this, because you have to bring in allegory and science and religion and politics. And it's not super easy, but it's getting easier. Okay? And so yeah, the tree of life, when you cut off tumors, and you cut off you cut out cancer and cut off things in your body, you're making the cancer inside your body stronger. And the reason why is because then the system takes that cancer, which is going to be another prototype for another future human, and then it makes you weaker. Because the entity was a new entity, it was new information attached to itself, took your info, and then tried to take over. And so the system will try to help you stay alive a lot longer, but they'll also take that cancer and use it for science in the future. So all of us have been used as science experiments. And when you have cancer, you are a science experiment. because I've probably released so much cancer and disease the last 7 years that whatever fatty tumors I felt in different places, they're gone. Why? Because I have an immune system plus a working, functioning digestive system to allow me to assimilate to whatever information and then release the demon, so that demon doesn't become a separate entity. And that's what cancer, disease, and chronic illness is, and children. They're separate entities that you've developed, give birth to. Sometimes it's organized as a child. Sometimes it's a tumor in the body. Sometimes it's a disease or an autoimmune disorder. And so, yeah, cutting things out will make the cancer and the disease stronger. Treating it will make it stronger. And so the tree of life is, when you see the branches of the trees, you see where they are, where people's degenerations are, at the end of the branches, and they get cut off. And when you cut off the branches of the trees, you cut off people, you cut out disease, you make that tree stronger. But see the inverse with people. You cut off the cancer, you cut off all the disease, you treat it, you make the person weaker, and the future of humanity is stronger. See, the future of humanity is based upon everyone getting cancer, disease, and a bunch of children until the system has to go and flush away the weakness and gain the strength. And here's the thing, and keep the strength, and you have to be the one to determine if you're strong or weak. The system can't determine that for you. And so what I've been proving to myself and the world is that I can handle disease. I can handle feeling the pain of the body pushing things through. I can feel and handle the, I mean, look again, it's like, it's just crazy. No, I'm not fat, but this is strong. There is no cellulite here, okay? This is straight up strength. And I have give to expand and contract. You see my face. I don't get facials. I don't, do the things people do in the beauty industry. What I use cocoa butter to moisturize. Why do I need to do that? Well, because I'm using harsher soaps to take away any of the life on the body on the top of it, to scrub away any germs and everything else. And so it leaves it kind of just the way it is. But I could use olive oil if I want to. But no, I use, cocoa butter a little bit because it's very thick. And that's it. But when you have when you get different issues with your face, it shows you internally what kind of issues you have. That's why people get facials and do all these microdermabrasions and stuff like that, because they don't want to show that the insides of their body are having issues. And that's why they wear makeup or use filters and all that. And so I'm looking at I don't have too many circles around my eyes, but I still feel some pressure here, but it's not bad. And so that's why people get scared of arm pressure, because they know that that's usually a prerequisite, a precursor to a heart attack. Well, when your lymph nodes are all, clogged up and there is no movement really, and so people get back surgeries because they don't know how to expand and contract their lymph nodes. And your lymph nodes are all everywhere, okay? And if they get clogged, or you're taking them out, you take away your immune system, you're taking away your lymphatic system. That's why people are kind of in weird looking positions, because sometimes life does not get to other places, and so parts of their body die off, like tree branches. When you cut off the blood supply, because you're redirecting, blood vessels and lymphatic systems and all that stuff, you're now falling apart. And that's what happens, is that people don't get the oxygen to all parts of the body. And so they systematically fall apart. And so you have to understand, what gives you life could also take it away. Poop could give you life, but poop could also take it away. Your family and your friends, your positive religion and science, they could give you the life that you want and whatever else, but also all of that could also take it away. And then people will be dropping like flies, and it's so freaking crazy. And so that's why it's hard not to be biased, because you're suffering for people. It's hard to watch people deal with their family and friends succumbing to the heart attacks and the strokes. But nothing you can do. You can't make that person handle pain and suffering. You can't make that person eat. You can't make that person release demons. You can't make that person feel anything except for whatever they want to feel. And the reason why people are suffering so much, and the reason why they are dealing with disease and sudden events, is because they didn't want to feel pain. and they didn't want to change the way they do stuff. They didn't want, or if they did want to, they weren't exposed to information. If they were exposed to information, could they have done whatever that information was telling them? The possibility. And there's no way to do that. It's a conditioning process. It starts with the parents, and then the parents can't even help their kids. So then each person is responsible for themselves. And if you're under 18, the system will take care of you in whatever the manner. And if you're above 18, you have a chance, but even then, it's a conditioning process. I mean, that's why people have to be able to understand my information and be able to determine if they can save themselves or succumb to the environment as they are resisting it. And that's something that you will have to make a choice of on your own. And so, yeah, cutting things off and cutting things out will make that future humanity stronger, but you weaker. Okay? And so that's why I said, howdy ho, which is from Mr. Hanky, South Park. This is your Satan and this is your Savior. You will determine if Mr. Hanky becomes your Satan or your Savior. And so the act of pressure building and pressure release is never something you expedite or force to happen. Okay, so the last 7 years, I've been losing pressure, and I get the release process, sneezing and everything else, and then gaining pressure, which is then the metastasization of whatever hatchlings that were hatched. And then you saw the hives, you saw the bloatedness, you saw just so much stuff going on. And then I had to release the pressure. And so it is a pressure gain and pressure release, and then you have to know how to work your alimentary canal and know you can handle what it takes to gain pressure and lose pressure. If not, you'll be on a string of drugs, herbal remedies, all the therapies, surgeries until the body can't get treated anymore. And so even you can't even do any more J juice because that will cure you. Remember when we changed from the pink salt to the white salt? People are like, shit, I have constipation. Yeah, we changed the salt, but you had to see it. Now people can do the pink salt for whatever, but I'm not doing J juice anymore. There's no point in it. The environment is ionic enough, and I salt my food, and I eat food, and I feel whatever, and I release demons. I've already trained my whole body to open up and release and close up when it needs to. And so the diet suddenly is because people were not conditioned for the environment. They weren't conditioned for the changes. And again, you can't just, spontaneously make somebody be conditioned for the changes in the environment. You literally have to know what it is that you can handle. And then also, this is when you start releasing the demons from your world. What do you mean? Well, some people are very heavily sociable. They socialize. Hey, Pip. And when you're sociable, you're going to take part in the smoking, the drugs, the alcohol, the sex, and all that stuff. And then socializing it takes up a lot of time. And then you'll be accountable to somebody else to entertain them. And then take their phone calls whenever, and take this, and take that, and then I'll help them fix something or help them do this. And when I was feeling the things I felt, even during my PMDD, I would bow out of family gatherings, and they'd be like, well, where's Jillian? Oh, she's PMSing. She's not coming. She's being lazy. Or she's not coming to work today because of this and that. She's being lazy. No, I was trying to take care of myself. And so if you are so accountable to everyone, not even just your job, if you're accountable to people that you're not even in a contractual obligation with, you're going to have a hard time dealing with this. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can't impose this lifestyle onto anybody else. And so most people will not be able to get this information. They're kind of stuck. And then you kind of feel bad and you want to demonize something, but you can't because it's the person. Okay, and so biological thermodynamics. I wouldn't swim in oceans right now because there's too much life. It gets into all pores, and then, yeah. Okay, and so I just want to look at myself and my hair. And also, yeah, by the way, holding on to demons of crap is what develops sexual reproduction. That's the incubus and the succubus, yes. And that's, what else do I call that? I call it idiopathic. Now you see why all food is important. You need all the food. And then growth in tumors. let me just make sure I get to that one about idiopathic. Oh, okay. What is that? Did I say? Oh, yeah. Idiofornication equals cured. Idiopathically fornicated with himself. Okay. Yeah. When you're not releasing the demons. So the word idio comes from Greek idios, meaning own, distinct, and usually means personal, own, peculiar, or distinct depending upon the context. And so when people die because they idiopathically fornicated with themselves out of existence, they screwed themselves to death. Just like with P. Diddy and those freak-offs, and they were saying that some people they taped it and some people were throwing up. Other people were I don't know, if they passed out or something. They were drugged. And when you have people screwing you to death, that's just like the microbes in your body. When you don't release the demons and they're working against you, they will screw you to death. And you will feel the pain and suffering. And so what went on with P. Diddy is showing you at the micro level what goes on in your body. And so it took me a minute to just, I don't watch any of that P. Diddy stuff, but I've heard some of the stuff about it. And it would make me just physically ill to think about it because I can kind of understand, because there's some women who are okay with being screwed to death and they use big, large things and And when you're using big, large things on a person, whether it's a guy or a girl, you're getting screwed to death. And that's what happens microbially when you don't release the demons. It's like having a bunch of P. Diddy's in your body screwing you to death, and then it sucks the life out of you. And then people are traumatized by the life in their body screwing them to death. And so you had to see at the macro level what happens at the micro level out there in Hollywood, in the music industry. But then you also get innovation. And that's fun. That's why R. Kelly and P. Diddy and all those artists, Weinstein, Epstein, Weinstein, I don't know about Epstein, but Weinstein, they were so talented. So fucking talented. Why? Because it came from all the trauma and the suffering and the destruction. And that's why the system is doing what it's doing, because they had to see how talented people get, right? How much trauma they undergo. Then they had to go and figure out how to control the trauma so it doesn't become destructive. But then you have to give permission. And so that's why some of these kids grow up in the industry, because when you're a kid, there's no permission. You're just growing up in the industry. And this is what you're, until you're 18, this is what you're relegated to do, unless you want to give up the fame, the power, the wealth, the security. And how many people in Hollywood, like the Jenners, Kylie and Kaylee, or whatever their names are, you think they're going to walk away from the Kardashian? No. They're going to die in that industry, because that's what they were raised with. It's the only thing they know. If they were to go out there by themselves, they would be subject to a lot of people, stalking them. And so they're kind of stuck unless they found a way to protect themselves. And I don't know how you do that without your family and your security in the industry. So that's why I'm glad I only rose to a certain level. I didn't rise any higher than that. And then now, I don't have any money. I don't have baubles. I don't have a bunch of shit. I don't believe in hoarding wealth and social capital. I'm not trying to be a target for someone who is desperate for something. I have top ramen. That's what I hoard, is top ramen, in case the fucking fall of the the apocalypse. And that's it, top ramen. So if someone wants to go and steal my top ramen, fine, go have my top ramen. I have nothing. And when you don't have so much, then you're not attracting parasites. You're not attracting, leeches in the world. That's what I'm saying. When you have a bunch of stuff and you flaunt your wealth and flaunt your beauty and flaunt all the things that you think is amazing, you will attract so much fucked up shit that you're going to have to find a way to fight off. Or people will latch onto you. Things will latch onto you and they won't let go. And so you don't want to be hot. You don't want to be crazy sexual. You don't want to be attracting the parasites, literally and figuratively, in your community. You want to protect yourself from all of that. And I'll tell you, sometimes parasites are your friends and family that you don't even realize until they latch on. And then you're seeing how often they call you. and how often they message you, and how often they need something from you, and how often they need advice, and how often they need someone to vent on to. And if you don't have, I mean, if you have, well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the drama. I don't want to deal with any of that shit. So that's why it's better to have acquaintances than having good friends and family, because eventually friends and family always overstep. Always. Because they have the license to. You gave them the license to overstep. That's why I have one person, my husband, who even then I have to make sure he doesn't screw me to death. Because if he had a chance, he would. That's just how the type of male that he is. But he's learned how to calm that shit down, because I don't want to be destroyed by marriage. And no one should ever destroy someone through sexuality or any other means. But when you sign on the dotted line, you're saying that you will now figure out how you're going to survive your marriage and that contractual obligation, even your occupation. When you're choosing to work for a company, you have to say no or figure out what you can afford. So if you have a highfalutin lifestyle with so many toys and baubles and social capital, you'll work yourself to death. And you'll get screwed by everything around you until you learn how to unscrew yourself and release the demons. And so it is a personal choice not to be screwed by everyone around you and by yourself, because you have to release those demons within your body. And some things in the body, especially all the microbes, they will screw you to death. And that's the aging process, that's cancer, that's disease, that's chronic illness, that's surgery, that is everything that you have to take to manage pain and suffering. Okay? And sometimes people take the drugs and screw themselves because they're trying to develop hormones to become a painkiller for whatever's going on. And so, yeah, the world is about screwing, yeah. F-U-C-K, fornication under the consent of the king. And everything's about shit. Everything's about screwing. Everything's about, Freud was right. Everything's about sexuality in some way or another, microbially and macrobially. Now you have to lessen the amount of people and microbes screwing you out of existence. And you still have to survive your community and have relative peace without rest and peace. And so that's the whole Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, you and the incubus and succubus, and then the offspring. And so, yeah, the incubus and the succubus is what gives people the sexuality. Okay? Incubus and succubus. That's what drops the eggs and also develops the semen. And then makes you all like, ooh, hot to trot. And so finally the day has come yesterday when I was able to go and hang out without feeling my head filling up with anything, without feeling anxiety or any kind of heart palpitations. And I'll tell you, when I was in that Walmart a couple months ago, I thought I was going to fucking die. Those were the times, the last few months was right there. If I hadn't conditioned my body to release the demons and deal with pain and suffering, I would have died the last 3 months. I would have been one of those died suddenly. And I know it. Because I know what I was dealing with. I was dealing with a major fucking demon. And this demon wasn't as bad as the demon back in July 2022 when CERN came on and then I could barely walk up the fucking stairs. I could barely see off in a distance. It was bad a couple of years ago. It wasn't as bad this time, but I felt the anxiety this time. Well, I released all that. And so sitting in the Outback Steakhouse, and it was warm in there, going to the Giant Eagle, it was nice. It was, going to different places, I didn't feel the heart palpitations. And when I went to Walmart a couple of weeks ago, I didn't feel the anxiety. And so the reason why certain places that you go to trigger stuff is because you're at that point in your body where those little demons are at the surface and anything will trigger it. And when you don't feel it anymore, it's not because you're in a better place. Remember, because when you feel stuff, like let's say something triggers when you're at a Walmart and you want to blame it on the Walmart, and I understand that. Well, when you go back to a Walmart, or when you go to an Aldi's or some other place, and maybe the energy is not as crazy, maybe you've already released that demon. Okay, maybe that Walmart brought up the demon and you released it, and so then you go to an Aldi's because you're afraid of the Walmart, but the Aldi's wasn't because that's energy. It was just that you released the demon. So you have to really understand the whole thing with blaming It's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. But you hold those demons within, and when they come to surface, man, it triggers all your emotions. And so it's understanding how to release the demons slowly and progressively and still feed. It's like you're changing, it's like, what is it, currency exchange? You're changing one gene, old gene, for a new gene. One, old gene, new gene, old gene, new gene. And it's a constant energy conversion, constant currency exchange. And then you have to keep feeding. That's why I have faith in what I'm doing, because I know I need food. I know I need air. I know I need water. Blood thickens when it's under heat and there's so much life. And then you have to make sure that your blood vessels can take on the thickening of the blood and understand the expansion and contraction and understand what blood clots are. It's that you don't have enough water. There's not enough of the substance to be able to expand and contract and everything. And so when you don't have enough of anything, enough water, enough anything, then yeah, you will make inhuman calamari, blood clots and everything else, and thicken the blood, and then also heart attacks and strokes. And so you have to know that food, air, water, release is so fucking important. And that's why I've been training my body to release down there and cough, sneeze, and blow my nose up here. And then every single time I go through an energy conversion, I feel the hives. I lessen the triggers, but still gotta deal with it because my husband's a trigger. But yesterday when I came home, after being around different people in superficial circumstances, okay, not so much in a crowd of people, but, superficial places, I came home, no hives, no fatigue. I didn't have to go to bed right away. I was up. I mean, I feel the pain in my arms a little bit right here, but nothing bad, nothing horrible. I feel the energy. But you don't want to ever remedy away the energy. You just deal with it and you feed it and you release it. Because I notice that too, if there's so much that needs to be released down there, I'll feel the pain in my arms and the shoulders and everything. And I release the pressure down there. All the pressure under my body gets released. Everything is connected. But people compartmentalize. They operate, they cut off blood supply, they cut off things. And so parts of their body are dying. And then the system goes in and cuts off more things, cuts out more things. And so they systematically deteriorate in the system. And now I'm bringing everything back to life in myself, but I can never bring life back to anyone who isn't equipped to deal with the life. And you can't impose that upon people. And so then what I do, I'm a representation. I don't pretend everything is great. I don't play that game. Not everything's great all the time. And I let you know it. Sometimes I look like, with the bags under my eyes. And I'll show you when I look like hell, and I'll show you when I look relatively okay. And I'll tell you when I finally can get over that hump. So that way you know that it might be a while before, you can go out in public without triggering some kind of colony unit of something. But you keep, every so often, you keep going back to the places that you went to see if that trigger happens. Just like when I went to that restaurant that a long time ago. I'd go to there, I would eat the food, and I would get coffee and sneeze and blow my nose because I was triggered or something. So I wouldn't go there again and think like, oh God, the meat's poison. Now it's the fact that I was waking up demons when I would go to different places. And so, yeah, you see me doing this because, yes, I feel the energy through my wrist, through my forearm, through my shoulder, okay? Sometimes it's through my back, but I don't have the radiant energy so much like on my neck. But I feel the body pushing the blood through. And it's actually kind of warm in here. So there's life being pushed through. And I can feel it. And so when I was taking a nap yesterday before we went to go off and do stuff, I was feeling the pressure or feeling the pain in my wrists and everything. And then I would take a tiny nap. I would catch myself napping, snoring. And I feel the warmth and then no more pain because then the blood vessels expanded and everything went through. And I felt a pleasure. That is priceless. You can't buy that. When you've earned that pleasure of relief, you can't buy that. I mean, you can try it, but you'll pay in the long. You'll pay twice. You'll pay for that drug and you'll pay again when that life becomes out of control for taking that drug to cause the vasodilation of your blood vessels. That's what all these drugs do. They vasodilate or they vasoconstrict. And then you realize the temperature in the air, the temperature in the food, the temperature in the water will vasoconstrict, vasodilate, and also develop life. And now you have to understand how everything works. And understand, too, out there in the environment. You know, it's 78 degrees right now. It's 7:42. It's going to be 80 degrees today. It won't be as hot as it was yesterday. And then when the temperature drops, people vasoconstrict. And then all that life that was developed during the vasodilation of the hot days, when it vasoconstricts, people die from heart attacks and strokes because it's not a transition. It's a fast. And people can't handle fast, obviously. That's why climate change is deadly. Because people don't know how to handle and manage the life in their body, the life in their community, and they don't understand temperature, what it does to blood vessels. And so they tax everything. And they try to resist the environment, and then resistance is futile. It causes breakage and chaos. So I know my husband's home right now, but I'll figure out tomorrow. I'll figure out some stuff to go over specifically. But I wanted to give you just a little bit of a synopsis of yesterday, and then temperature and what gives you life could also take it away. So you understand you understand that it's all about balance, but you also understand indicators. And I'm telling you, when you're sitting with hand pain, and it's not my left hand, this is my right hand. I don't understand why the right hand, but I'll just deal with it. Maybe one day my right hand will not be in pain. Maybe it's because it needs to repair, I guess. But I'll just deal with it. I'll eat food. I'll release demons. I'll rest. And I will just sit with whatever. And maybe one day I won't be in pain at all. Who knows? Even during the climate changes. But I would say the last few months was a major demon that came through. That's why people are dying suddenly. Because the demons woke up and it took them out. So if you don't want to feel pain and suffering, you'll try to resist the demons waking up. And one day that one demon is going to wake up. People don't survive. That's called died suddenly. All right. Bye.